Most people don't consider the things living in the sewers, with many assuming that they're filled with rats and not much else. There are actually a wide range of strange beasts that make their way into our sewers, with a few of those being caught on camera for our entertainment. Some of these are disgusting, with others ending up just being amusing pranks. These 5 sewer monsters caught on camera and spotted in real life are definitely worth taking a look at. Before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button to get notified every day for more amazing content. With that being said, let's begin. Number 5. Fatberg. Our first monster on today's countdown isn't quite what you're expecting. It is a serious monster, but it isn't alive, and it never was. It ended up being found in a sewer in East London after a blockage was reported. A team was sent down to investigate and found what appears to be a 250-meter-long hunk of congealed fat and other waste products taking up a huge portion of the pipe. The enormous piece is a mix of everything you put down your drain, along with a massive helping of fat to help stick it all together. If you think that's one of the most disgusting things you've ever heard of, we don't know how a team stepped foot in that sewer without being overcome, not to mention coming across this thing and managing not to drop dead on the spot from shock and the smell. This monster, while not all that traditional, is shocking, and we're happy to never think about anything this revolting again, although that image seems to be burned into our retinas forever. Just be thankful that you don't live in London. If you do, then we apologize and recommend you start paying attention to what goes down the drain at home. This mess shouldn't have ever gotten to be this bad, and it's basically a result of people tossing whatever waste they feel like into the sink or toilet and sending them down the main sewer line. The cleanup job was estimated to take 3 weeks, an enormous amount of time when all they're doing is unclogging a drain pipe. That drain pipe, however, sees a ton of waste every single day, and cleaning it out would mean redirecting anything heading in that direction. We assume that they've got it all worked out, but we don't envy whoever it is that got volunteered for that job. The entire mass weighs a whopping 130 tons. Which does help to explain why cleaning it out will take so long. That's a huge clog, and puts anything you've ever seen before to shame. So the next time your toilet gets clogged up and you want to freak out about it, just think about this one and realize your problems could be a lot worse. At least your toilet won't take 3 weeks to fix. If it does, then it's probably time to call a plumber and stop trying to fix it yourself. Number 4. Unidentified mass. One thing we didn't expect when we first heard about this sewer monster is that it would end up being real. This makes the disgusting video footage even more revolting, with the answer to what this thing is still being unknown. It was found in Raleigh, North Carolina, and has people quite legitimately freaking out. We'd expect this kind of creature to be in a Ghostbusters scene instead of hanging out in a US sewer pipe, but the environmental EMS coordinator for public utilities in the city has both confirmed the existence of the creature and also restated that she still isn't sure what the hell it is. When she first saw the video, she assumed it was a slime mold that was at a particular point in its life cycle. This can see these molds slightly throbbing, but not really to the extent that this video indicates. After a little time had passed, she then released a public statement saying that the mass was actually some form of worm, without elaborating further other than to assure the city residents that the pipe this critter was found in wasn't attached to the city's main line and would therefore not be a threat to public safety. The most likely answer to what this thing could be is that it's a large mass made up of many tiny organisms. They're known as bryozoans and could explain things. Many scientists have shouted down this idea though, saying instead that they do have to be worms. The debate is pretty fierce considering the docile professional demeanor of most scientists, with proponents of all theories unwilling to back down. While everyone tries to work out what this pulsing mass is, we say they should just tear the pipe out and burn the thing in thermite just to be safe. We really don't need any facehugger aliens laying anything inside of us, thank you very much. We also don't like the idea of chugging down a glass of water that worms have been wriggling around in, assuming there's a chance they could get into the water supply. That would make for a very serious hazard to public health and safety, and no amount of filtering would make us feel safe. The people of Raleigh don't seem to have been affected too much, which is nice, but having a state official put out a statement to reassure us, just in case, would very much have the opposite effect, given how many serious health violations have initially been met with that exact type of statement. Number 3. United Utilities Monster. This next video is a little less gross and much more lighthearted than alien worm infestations or fat birds weighing more than we can comprehend. It's supposed to have been taken by a utilities company in the UK that goes by the name of United Utilities. United is a pretty big deal, and we weren't sure it was their footage until we found out that they did in fact release it themselves. The video was featured in an ad campaign that was geared towards warning people about the dangers of flushing objects down the toilet that don't actually belong there. It seems like the good people of London didn't get that memo, however, and probably should have got themselves caught up a little sooner. The video shows a creepy sewer line that continues quite a long way. After a little bit of walking around, the smaller brick-lined walls open up and reveal a larger pipe that ends in a T-junction. As the camera approaches the junction, a lightning-fast figure whizzes by in a flash, disappearing just as quickly as it appears. Many people thought this footage was real when they first saw it and lost their minds. United Utilities had a ton of fun fielding all sorts of calls from concerned citizens telling them they should do something about their monster problem. We should remember that this is the same group that saw people jump from buildings when War of the Worlds first aired as a radio broadcast, summing up their gullibility levels quite succinctly. The video, for any who are still on the fence, was a hoax and was only supposed to grab the audience's attention and not give them full-on cardiac arrest. We also assume that the cameraman would react at least a little bit to seeing a strange monster, but they don't miss a beat, keeping their camera dead steady, which should have been everyone's first clue that the footage wasn't genuine. We think it's an impressive ad, and it definitely is one that you'll remember after watching it through. It did its job wonderfully as far as informing the public in an engaging way is concerned, apart from those fat burgers in London, those troublemakers, and we think it's better than most monster videos we've seen in a long time. Number 2. Floridian Troubles. Number 2 on today's countdown starts right in the thick of things, with a wildlife expert wrangling an enormous gator out of a sewer drain. Alligators are pretty vicious creatures in the wild, with this one being quite a specimen. The gator seems to have made its way in before getting stuck halfway and not being able to get back out. Residents noticed the animal and decided to call it in for everyone's safety, including the animal. The best part about this video is that this seems to be a fairly routine sight in Tampa. Living with gators seems to be par for the course, with this 9-foot monster probably not the largest one this guy's had to fish out tail first. It also turns out that some residents keep gators in their ponds at home in order to keep out other pests, such as feral pigs. Call us nuts, but we'd pick pigs over gators any day, and we don't think one pest should be replaced with another that's liable to kill you and eat you whole for dinner. We can't believe that people in the US still have to take on gators in this day and age during their day-to-day, but there you have it. Even more worrying is the trend involving people keeping alligators as pets, only to release them once they grow too big to care for. These gators are already used to people by this point, making them much more likely to go wandering around the suburbs when looking for a meal. The guy in this video does know what he's doing, with all sorts of gear being used to pry the gator free from this particular drain. It doesn't seem too fussed when it does finally pop out, looking more relieved to be free than anything. Then again, we don't really know what a pissed off gator looks like up close when compared to a docile one, so we guess we're not the best group to declare the coast clear. It does make a little snap at the guy pulling its tail, but he looks like he's not too worried, and we assume that he knows how to handle a gator, with this supposedly being so commonplace. Number 1. Dragon Surprise. The next time you're strolling through Bangkok, you might want to take a look down every once in a while to inspect the sewers, because they might be holding a little more than you expect. This video was captured by a tourist who noticed the beast and held off on his surprise long enough to get some good footage. He wasn't the first to notice the creature, being alerted to its presence by a large group that had already gathered. He called the creature a Komodo dragon in its title, although it's more likely to be a water monitor, which are fairly common. That's good news for anyone who happens to be close by, as Komodo dragons can be quite vicious and have a mean bite. This water monitor is still impressive, and it would be a really cool thing to see up close and personal, even if it happened to be wading through garbage and waste. This being a fairly common occurrence all over Asia, we're sure the locals weren't too bothered and are probably used to these sorts of things, although probably not every day. The lizard itself is also pretty laid back about the entire thing, not stopping its slow plod to wherever it happens to be heading. If you think this is nuts, just remember that Florida does have sewer gators, so we just consider these water monitors to be the Asian equivalent of those, although they do seem less inclined to scoop these creatures up and keep them away from people. Water monitors are less dangerous than gators, however, being no real threat to humans, even when challenged, which does change things a little bit. Hope you enjoyed the video, folks. If you did, make sure you click that subscribe button before you head out if you're new. That's all you have to do. Come on, just click it. I know you want to. Oh, and if you enjoyed the video, drop a like. I heard it gives you superpowers in the future or something. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.